Welcome to the Vault. This commentary is pertaining to an African-American police officer by the name of Kenno Carlos, who was charged with misdemeanor theft, stole some items belonging to a rookie police officer out of his locker, items stolen out of a locker, taken back to the officer's home. Why, I do not know. Put on paid leave. Thank you for joining me. Let's first talk about crime with officers. Maybe we can get a better understanding of what may happen to Officer Carlos. From a 2016 article, the Washington Post reported that police officers in our country are arrested at a rate of 1,100 per year, or approximately 3 per day. The true figures may be even higher, as the Bowling Green State University study calculating it is no doubt met with more than its share of police departments unwilling to share such embarrassing information. The gist of this article says the consequences of a police officer faces once arrested or charged with a crime, usually involved in an internal investigation and some form of discipline. If convicted of a crime, the consequences vary by the type of crime involved and can involve being terminated as an officer or suspended with or without pay. Officers are only human after all. They experience arrests for DUI, shoplifting, domestic violence, public intoxication, public urination, and sex offenses for off-duty conduct. Our office has represented several over the years, and this is a lawyer, a private office, Greg Hill and Associates out of Los Angeles and surrounding counties, rendering this commentary. They also face their share of publicized cases, some unmeritorious, related to on-duty conduct, such as sexually assaulting a female suspect, extortion of a drug dealer, battery on suspects that was not privileged, or filing a false police report. Penal Code 118.1, a wobbler. What makes such cases especially painful is that alleged victim often fabricates a claim after being arrested by the officer with an ulterior motive that the prosecutor will drop the criminal case if the victim agrees to dismiss the claim against the officer. This rarely works. Other times it is vindictive ex-girlfriend, ex-wife, seeking to make the officer's life as miserable as possible. Sadly, once the officer is arrested or even merely cited, the officer may be badged out to prevent endangering the officer in jail with other inmates. Most police departments begin an internal investigation, and the officer may face an automatic 30-day suspension or even an indefinite leave of absence, sometimes without pay. First and foremost, it is good to appreciate that an officer charged with a crime, i.e. DUI, sex offense, while on duty is almost certainly subject to termination, as such conduct would surely violate the officer's contract of employment. When the alleged crime occurs off duty, the officer will almost always need to report the incident to his or her union representative, who will initiate an investigation. The best thing for the officer to do is to cooperate, but also retain experienced criminal defense counsel who regularly appears in the courthouse at issue. We find that many police officers who we have represented have a clear understanding of only part of the criminal process. They are knowledgeable about arrest and evidence suppression issues, but often do not appreciate issues involving delays in prosecution, prosecutorial discovery abuses, and charge specific issues that affect issues of proof. Raising such issues can often result in dismissal of the criminal case. Moreover, a good criminal defense attorney can help resolve the case in a way that helps mitigate the effects of an administrative action. For example, the client can complete a significant amount of rehabilitative classes, i.e. Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, animal abuse classes, anger management classes, batterers classes, kleptomaniac classes. Now, that's a good one. Or sexaholics anonymous classes, depending upon the case facts. A good criminal defense attorney can develop evidence undermining a victim's credibility and minimizing restitution owed if any. It is critical to recognize for any officer facing administrative investigation of criminal activity that the officer has no absolute constitutional or statutory right to remain silent during the investigation. And this stems from Liebarger versus City of Los Angeles, 1985, 40 cal.3D 822, 827, 221, CAL RPTR period 529. I guess that's the case number. The officer may be compelled to answer questions under threat of disciplinary action, although no statement made by the officer under such compulsion may be used against the officer in a criminal proceeding. Liebarger Supra. If the officer chooses to remain silent, that silence could be considered insubordination and lead to administrative discipline. For this reason, we strongly recommend that the officer retain separate counsel just for the administrative hearing, especially one who regularly represents officers in that particular department, because the officer does have certain rights under the Public Safety Officers Procedural Bill of Rights. And then it gives you the government code for that. If the reader of this article is an expiring police officer about to apply to become a police officer or a sheriff, and the person has a prior case that was resolved with a delayed entry of judgment DEJ program, it is important that this person under Penal Code 1000.4b must disclose arrest in response to any direct question contained in any questionable application. So it says, for more information about facing criminal case, diversion, and state licensing issues, these are the ones that you can find under this attorney's webpage. Why hire a private attorney? Why shouldn't you use a public defender? Is diversion available for veterans in a DUI? What does the new law in that year was 2015 concerning expunged convictions, state license applications? So if you need the information, Greg Hill and Associates, this law firm is out of Los Angeles. I bring you this information because I always like to bring some type of factual information pertaining to any crime I discuss. What happened at this police department? Mr. Kenno, what happened, honey? Why did you steal this guy's personal effects? Because Queen is curious. I have met this officer before many years ago. I've seen him out and about in town. He usually worked at the Food City off of Western Avenue as, guarding the store. And I'm trying to figure out what happened because I'm utterly confused. Was there a personal issue between the two? I understand he's a rookie. So what happened? Let's go to WAT News. This uploaded 2 days ago. A Knoxville police officer has been with the department since 1994, has been placed on leave and suspended following a theft charge. The Knoxville Police Department said on Saturday that Officer Kenno Carlos was charged with misdemeanor theft after an internal investigation. On Wednesday morning, a Knoxville Police Department employee reported missing property from his locker. The department's investigation found that Officer Carlos entered the locker room while on duty in the early hours of Wednesday morning and walked out with the property. Knoxville Police Chief Paul Noel talked with the press Saturday morning where he called the actions of the 27-year veteran unacceptable. Obviously, it's very frustrating. It's a breach of our trust. It's a breach of the public's trust, and it's behavior that we will not tolerate at the Knoxville Police Department, Noel said. We have standards. We have a code of ethics. We have a code of conduct, and he violated that. According to the incident report, notes that a duty belt, flashlight, baton, a baton holder, handcuffs, handcuff case, cone spray, a spray holder, a radio holder, a multi-tool, a pocket knife, gloves, and a pair of Reebok duty boots were taken from the locker. That's a lot of stuff. Belt, let's count all those. So we just be technical. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 items. Are you all hearing this? 13 items. The narrative from the incident report states a cadet notified a sergeant that items were missing from his locker Wednesday morning. The cadet normally changes clothes in the locker room, leaving most of his equipment in the locker. But when he returned Wednesday after leaving his gear in the locker Tuesday afternoon, he noticed several items were missing. The incident report says a cadet's ballistic vest was still hanging in the locker, and his jacket was lying at the bottom of the locker. So left behind was his ballistics vest and his jacket on the bottom of the locker. Chief Noel said that Carlos was cooperative with the investigation, and that when he was confronted, Carlos admitted to taking the items and took officers to his home where the items were. According to a spokesperson for the department, Carlos was questioned by KPD property crimes investigators on Friday night and confessed to taking the property. Police say he was issued a misdemeanor citation for theft. Okay, so obviously he wasn't arrested and put in handcuffs. For those of you who know what a citation is, it's a piece of paper of a crime that you have allegedly committed, and then you would have to, I guess, appear in court for the citation of the crime. The Knoxville Police Chief Paul Noel said that Carlos was placed on paid administrative leave with his police powers suspended, effective immediately. Carlos has been with the Knoxville Police Department since 1994. So we have an African-American male, older gentleman, by the name of Kenno Carlos. Been with the department since 1994. That's a long time. 27 years. He's been put on paid administrative leave with his police powers suspended. And they have done an internal investigation. So what will happen? Because this is where I'm confused. And I believe it came to like $800 something. I read in another article. Let's repeat what he stole. A duty belt, flashlight, baton holder, handcuffs, handcuff case. This is crazy. Cone spray holder, a radio holder, multi-tool, whatever that is, pocket knife, gloves, and a pair of Reebok duty boots, all taken from this man's locker. I'd like to know, how old is the man who he robbed these items from? How long has he been on the force? Did these two have some type of altercation or words? Because this is very strange to me. This happened last Wednesday morning, that he stole these items from, it says, a cadet. This is strange to me. Why do it? Why steal it? That's what it says here. We'll make sure I'm reading everything correctly. This is very weird. The narrative from the incident report states a cadet notified a sergeant that the items were missing from his locker. Kenno, what is going on, dear? As I said, I've met this officer previously in the past, seen him out and about, because a lot of times businesses such as nightclubs, bars will hire officers to work for them when they are off duty as security for their establishment. So I have seen and met and conversated with many police officers at local businesses. Magnolia Cafe, that's one place I patronize. They hire police officers to work there when they are off shift from the police department. Grocery stores hire police officers. So I've met Kenno many years ago. So I didn't know him personally. I can't tell you anything personally about him, but I have been cordial and friendly with a few officers that work for the Knoxville Police Department. I don't have a problem with any of them. They've done things to me, so I don't have a problem with any officer, period, anywhere. But I want to know what the hell was wrong with this guy to risk a career, whether he was a cadet himself or on the force 2 years, 15 years. Why do it? Is this something personal? Did he see this guy say something, do something? They had words. They passed each other in the locker room. There was some type of verbal altercation, a difference of opinion. Does he know something about this guy? Or does he think this guy knows something about him or see him do something? Because this is very personal. To steal all these items, I counted 13 items. To steal these items out of the locker room, you have to ask yourself, you all don't have security cameras in your locker rooms or your general areas. I refuse to believe that, and it's a police department. So one, you have to ask yourself, one, why did he do it? Two, why was the locker not locked? Three, how did he get them out, all those items? What did he put them in? A Kroger bag? The boots alone should have been heavy and obvious. So what did Kenno put the items into? This is crazy to me. This is crazy. What his record is like. Yes, and that's also the main issue. Has Carlos been reviewed for any other type of negative infractions? Altercations, verbal, any other altercations with other officers, superiors, anything done out in the field that was questionable, but it didn't make it to internal affairs? Has he ever been investigated by internal affairs? Let's go there. Has he ever been invested by internal affairs? Any superiors had to speak to him about his verbiage, his demeanor, excessive force. As I said, any type of physical, verbal altercations with any other officers, staff members, any other issues with theft, since these items were stolen. It is very bizarre. Hold on 1 second. I'm sharing to another platform. 1 moment, please. I'm stunned, quite frankly, because I'm trying to understand why do it, period. You know, it's not like you stole something just of value. Naturally, it's of value to the officer because he has to use these items as a police officer. But in my mind, I can't see stealing those items. To me, stealing these items is something a person would do out of spite. Wasn't a coat, wasn't a pair of Michael Jordan shoes, and he wore the same size. Wasn't like he put in a diamond bracelet or a signet ring or some sort of valuable item such as leather coat, fancy shoes, something he could use for himself. You know, a fancy watch. Of course, naturally, who's going to wear a fancy watch to work anyway? You know, you can get in a scuffle, it could get broken. So you wouldn't wear it. You just wear, a regular watch to work. So this is where I have the problem. Kenno, what is the problem? Kenno is a very robust man. He's a very heavy-set guy. Not that it matters, but I'm just describing what he looks like. Feel free to check out my community page to get a look at Mr. Kenno Carlos, African-American male. They do not give an age, but I do believe he's probably somewhere near Queen's age or older. So what the hell happened? What should happen to Kenno? Should Kenno be removed entirely? Some may disagree with him getting suspended with pay. Because my thing is, once he admitted that he stole it, what else is there to talk about? The ramifications should have came after that. But it is considered a misdemeanor. I believe, a misdemeanor is considered $1,000 in the state, under $1,000 in the state of Tennessee. But it's still jacked up because this is a breach of trust. And then the next question will be, what has he done in his 27 years on the force? What happened while you worked on the force? Because people are going to say, well, if you were steal from a cadet or another officer, staff member, you've done this out in public. And there were some nasty little comments on the article's pages pertaining to him, talking about him stealing donuts, this and that, and, just all type of crazy comments on articles, videos pertaining to this crime. Kenno, you knew better. And we all, as this article I read from this lawyer's office out of California, we are all human. We will make mistakes. Many officers have been arrested for battery, theft, murder, using drugs, selling drugs, stealing from the evidence room, stealing narcotics, stealing evidence, tampering with evidence. They commit all type of crimes because they're human. They lie. They have been known to lie. During investigations, we have had a case here with a white man was beat up or something, and find out the man, one of the officers lied in the report. We also got information from a young black lady who went on the high-speed chase with an officer here. That was some felonious and fraudulent fabrication in that case, and she won a lawsuit from the city of Knoxville. It's sad. It's sad and it's disturbing because we are relying on these individuals to be truthful and factual while being on duty. We're also hoping that they will do the same off duty. But the thing that people fail to realize is that they are human. To err is human. Well, I wondered about that too. Was this like a prank or a joke with some other high-ranking officers? Did they have a problem with this guy? I think this is personal because you got to think about how many guys are new to the force, cadets on up to 6 months, 1 year. Somebody had a problem with this guy. That's what I'm thinking. Because why this guy? See, you always have to remember who the perpetrator is and who the victim is. And what's the correlation between the two? As everyone loves to say, the nexus. The nexus is they work together. They work for a common denominator. The common denominator is Knoxville Police Department. But what happened between the two? Because just go in somebody's locker, take all their goods out, you had to have had some type of ill will towards that person, or ill thought. So, Kenno, what's the deal with you and this guy? And what is his race? Because I'm curious. Is he black, Hispanic, or white? Some will say it won't matter, but we know that it will matter. It always matters. It always matters. Just because. Is he white? Did he say something racist? Make a nasty remark? Is he pro-Trump, pro-Republican, pro-this or that? Was he narcissistic? Making nasty remarks? Was he making nasty remarks about women, other officers, protocol, how things are ran in the police department? Maybe it pissed him off, Mr. Kenno. And Kenno said, oh, I'll show him. I'll steal all his stuff out of his locker. So you don't know because we are not there. But I got a feeling it's personal because you just don't go into someone's locker and steal their stuff out their locker. And the fact that he's a cadet, oh yeah, the cadet has done something. I'll put my money on it. I could be wrong. Could be Kenno just reaching out, lashing out himself. He was having a bad day. He just felt like, fuck this job. I'm going to steal something from the job. But why steal that? Because those are a lot of items to steal. Hell, how did he take them out of the damn locker room in a duffel bag? army bag, I'm confused. Because you had to have something to conceal all those items in. And I want to know, how did they catch him taking the items out? Let me reread this, because I'm confused how he was able to even get out of. How was he able to get out? One moment. Well, this is strange. I will be doing another live after this pertaining to Kohlberger. Back-to-back lives today. Thank you for joining me. Let's see what 10 News has to say. Probably the same thing. He has been on the force since 1994. Knoxville police officer Kenno Carlos served with KPD since 94. He's been placed on administrative leave following an internal investigation. Knoxville police said it suspended an officer for misdemeanor theft following an internal investigation. So this content was updated on the 16th of January. Kenno Carlos, who served the department since 1994, has been charged with misdemeanor theft and placed on administrative leave with his police powers suspended. KPD said a police cadet reported property missing from their locker in the morning of January 11th. In a KPD report, the items stolen: boots, duty belt, pocket knife, multi-tool, and gloves, which was more than that. An internal investigation revealed that Carlos entered the locker room earlier that day while on duty and walked out with the property. KPD said on Friday, January 13th, 2 days later, Carlos confessed to taking the property and was issued a misdemeanor citation for theft. They said, "We will update you with more information." Still doesn't make any sense. I like to read each article because sometimes each article will have something a little bit different. There's a whole lot more to this story. It's always more. Now, they have said with crime, you can ask the perpetrator why you did this or that, and they don't have any reason. They don't know. So is this a case with Kenno? He doesn't know why he stole it. He just did it. I did it because I could. I'm a police officer. I've got rank. Does Kenno have a God complex? He just did it just because. See if he could get away with it. Maybe we've got a Kohlberger on our hands, a black Kohlberger. Shut up, Queen.
A 27-year police veteran facing charges for suspected theft. How the Knoxville police chief is standing his ground on accountability tonight. Well, good evening to you, and thanks so much for being here with us for WBLT News at 10 on the CW. I'm Gwendolyn Dupree. Let's get straight to that story. KPD Chief Paul Noel says a 27-year veteran is accused of stealing 13 items, mostly some police equipment, from another officer's locker Wednesday morning. The chief says Officer Kenno Carlos is out on unpaid administrative leave right now. Noel says Carlos admitted to it yesterday and is facing misdemeanor theft charges. The chief telling us the department will not tolerate this behavior.
It's a breach of our trust. It's a breach of the public's trust, and it's behavior that we will not tolerate at the Knoxville Police Department.
Noel has been clear about behavior like this when he first took on the role. Noel says Carlos will have to go through the department's internal process as well as the city's justice system as part of this investigation.
So that's the end of that. So it said unpaid leave. Make sure I read this properly. Once again, Wednesday, January 11th, KPD employee reported property missing from his locker. Early said a continued internal investigation revealed that KPD officer Kenno Carlos entered the locker room while on duty and left with the property. Reports stated there were 13 items taken: tri-lock buckle, string light flashlight, auto lock baton, Smith & Wesson chain handcuffs, black saber, red OC spray. See, I didn't mention, I hear about the spray. Maybe it was worded different in the other article. Baton holder, handcuff case, radio holder, OC spray holder, multi-tool, black folding pocket knife, Interplex thermal hands, gloves, and Reebok duty boots. On Friday the 13th, he confessed to taking the property while being questioned by KPD property crimes investigators, according to Erlin. As a result, Carlos, who had been with KPD since 1994, was charged with misdemeanor theft and placed on administrative leave with his police powers suspended. I do remember this officer here, chief, said unpaid. So make sure I hear that correctly. This is strange. Play it again. Now it's not playing. Okay, then what's
Charges for suspected theft. How the Knoxville police chief is standing his ground on accountability tonight. Well, good evening to you, and thanks so much for being here with us for WVLT News at 10 on the CW. I'm Gwendolyn Dupree. Let's get straight to that story. KPD Chief Paul Noel says a 27-year veteran is accused of stealing 13 items, mostly some police equipment, from another officer's locker Wednesday morning. The chief says Officer Kenno Carlos is out on unpaid administrative leave right now. Noel says
there he says unpaid leave. Kenno, what is going on? Do you have a problem with the police department? Do you have a problem with superiors? Do you have a problem with this young man? Did you two have a verbal altercation, difference of opinion, some type of words? Was this a joke, a prank by you and other officers, superiors? And yes, you took the fall and the blame because you worked for 27 years. You just didn't give a damn. But one would say your reputation should be more important than playing a prank. Because right now you're out on unpaid leave. It costs to live. Ding, ding. Bills are high. Water high. Gas high. Gas to heat your house. Stay woke. Do you have a mortgage to pay? Bills to pay? Car notes? Are you married? Do you have kids? What is your standing in the community besides being a police officer? Do you go to church? Do you work in the church? Do you work with any type of nonprofit organizations? Any organizations working with children? You are well known in the community. People know you for working at the grocery store at Food City on Western Avenue many moons ago. I don't know if you still work there, but people know you and know of you, sir. So why would you risk your reputation? Because this is baffling to me that you would go out like this over some police paraphernalia. And one is going to question your morale other times. Did you ever steal from a house during an investigation? Or going to a crime scene, or out on a call? Have you ever broke into someone's house while being on duty, off duty? Have you stolen anything else from the police department or any other cadet staff members? Well, I doubt it. A cadet would be smaller. Kenno is a heavy-set guy. If we're to believe this is his recent photo of him. It wasn't worth it. Whatever it was, whatever you had going on with this cadet, I don't know if he's black, white, Hispanic, because I am curious to the race, just because I just am. What was the issue? Because I believe this was personal. And if it was a prank, it wasn't even a prank worth pulling. I could see if it was a prank, you all move the items maybe to another locker. You still could be reprimanded for that because they would say, well, you're too old for that. But they can just give you a slap on the wrist, give you a warning, because at least it didn't leave the police department. So that's where you fucked up, was taking the items out of the police department. You should have moved them to another locker if it was some type of personal issue with this kid. You had a problem with him. Y'all had words. You don't like the way he looks, his political affiliation. Hell, do you think he's gay or homosexual? I don't know, because there's something off here. I think you all have got some type of personal beef. That's what I think. Something has gone on between you and this kid. It's something. I'm calling him a kid just because it says cadet. You know, I'm sure he's above legal age. But you've got an issue with this kid. You two have had words, difference of opinions. It's something. You've heard something about him nefarious, or he's heard something about you. He said something to you out of the way, or you said something to him. It's something. It's some he said, she said, JRUN type bullshit. And it definitely wasn't worth it. Well, Andre, you can't say that he's white. We don't know that he's white. He could be a black person. He could be, see, this is a small town. So we don't know if he knows of the kid. See, you don't know who he knows. You don't know if he is related to somebody that has been involved in some type of crime, felonious behavior. So you don't know. This is a small town. People know of each other. So Kenno might have a problem with his family. See, you don't know. Maybe his family's been involved with crime. That's my commentary for this afternoon pertaining to Kenno Carlos, African-American police officer, Knoxville Police Department. He has been suspended without pay for a theft charge of another cadet's items stolen from his locker. An internal investigation proves he stole them because he admitted to the theft 2 days later. When I get more information pertaining to the when, the where, the how, the whys, I will bring it to you. The why will be the next question. Why did Kenno steal the items? Was there a personal beef or disagreement between the two? Will the Knoxville Police Department keep him on board? As I said, if it was a prank or he just had a problem with the guy, he should have just moved the items to another locker. I don't recommend doing the prank either because we don't know how well Kenno is liked as an officer. If he has any issues with his superiors, if he's done anything else, suspect as an officer, on the clock, off the clock, best you don't rock the boat. But we know that people have godlike complexes. So maybe this was it. He did it because he could. Let me see if I can get away with it. What if we find out it was not personal? Because in the end, nobody's going to care. Only people that's going to care are the people that like Kenno. But the police department has to maintain decorum and trust between the officers and the staff and the public. And that's the message you're sending if you give them a pass, that your officers can do anything they want and you keep them on. And who's going to trust them going out into the public if he's stealing out of a locker where he works and he was on duty at the time of the theft? I don't understand why he stole it. But I know that when people have problems with people, they do things to hurt them or aggravate them. You piss off at somebody, you do something to them. And we know that people seek revenge on people all type of ways. So could this just be an act of revenge? He had a problem with this kid and he stole his items. I want to thank you all for joining me this afternoon. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $Beganji, 129 Cash App. All stickers and chats are welcome during the live stream. The next live stream is pertaining to Coy Berger. We're going to chop up Nancy Grace's podcast with her guests. Posts that were made allegedly by Coy Berger when he was younger. It seems that he's had a tumultuous mindset and possibly childhood, late childhood. How did he come to be that he became this monster? Childhood trauma? High school trauma? Couldn't relate to others, couldn't relate to the world. What happened? That's the next live stream. Thank you for joining me. You have been listening to The Vault.